Heippa and welcome back to my channel. I was supposed to film this whole video outdoors, but it looks like it is going to rain at any second now and be really bad weather. So I totally copped out this time, but maybe in the future you will see me out and about. We use the forest backdrop instead. Today's topic is the bear and its impact in Nordic culture. And I mean, who doesn't love bears? They're like fluffy and adorable and extremely dangerous animals. So what isn't there to love about them? The brown bear, which is a subspecies of this thing, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, and that is one of the largest animals in many Nordic countries. And it has definitely made its mark in Nordic culture. And this is something I talked about quickly in a video I did about the film Midsommar, but I think it's a fun topic and I wanted to explore it a bit deeper. And we will touch upon a few Nordic cultures and their relationship with a bear. And we will talk about Finnish, Sami and Swedish culture today. Some general facts about the Nordic brown bear is that despite it being considered a large predator, half of its food intake is actually berries, so it is an omnivore. That said, it can totally take a moose calf or an adult moose if it's hungry and strong during summer. He goes into hibernation just like many of his cousins in other countries, and he would be asleep from between like late October until April or May. They are large animals, but they are smaller than bears in other countries. So they can be about 340 kilos. That I think it's the maximum weight they can reach. And they can grow to be like 30 or 40 years old. But this is not a nature channel. We are here to talk about the historical and cultural marks that this large animal has left in many Nordic cultures. The bear, being large, imposing, and totally able to defeat a person in hand-to-hand combat, has left people in Nordic countries treated with respect, but also with fear. One of these signs of respect is that when you're out and about in the forest, you are not allowed to use the bear's actual name. Rather, you should use like a code word for it. So you can't say bear or björn or karu or whatever. You use a code word for the bear. And some of these code words are like big father, sweet paw. One of them is really sweet. It's like cutie or clumsy person, clumsy you. And my favorite one is 12 man strong, because it was believed that a bear will gain the strength of 12 men by climbing into a tree and then dropping himself repeatedly on the ground, and that would make him just as strong as 12 men, but also very, very angry, which, yeah, probably. Bears are associated with quite a bit of magic, and some bears were actually considered to be man bears, which is people in disguise as a bear. So a person who could transform into a bear, much like a werewolf, for example. And they could do this either by their own will, because they were sorcerers or magicians, but also because they had been cursed by someone who was knowledgeable in magic. And especially bears who would attack livestock would be considered to be a man bear, because why else would you do that? And it was also believed in the Finnish-speaking parts of Western Sweden that some people who knew a lot about magic, they could control the bears in the forest, and they could actually make the bear attack your enemy, either the person themselves or their livestock. The bears tend to have special protectors in the forest, and in Finnish mythology, which is super complicated, super complex, if you have the time over, check out the Kalevala, it is awesome. And in Finnish mythology, you would have deities like Tapio, who is the bear king, but also the ruler of the forest, and basically the embodiment of the forest, and therefore the lord of the forest and everything who lives inside of it. And if you wanted to go on a bear hunt or any hunt, you had to make a sacrifice and pray to Tapio. And he might just bless you with a nice catch, like a big bear or something like that. If we look across the pond in Sweden, the bear would be protected by an entity called Skogsrå, which is basically a guardian spirit of the forest, but she's in female form. And the bear would basically be her dog, and she would care a lot of it. But if there was a hunter that she liked, she would let the hunter kill her animals, and especially the bear. And it was also believed that when the bear was in hibernation, it survived because she would come every day and feed it milk. But on the day that the bear was destined to die, she would feed it a bucket of blood instead, and that's how the bear would know that this was its final day. And so during bear hunts, it was very common to actually leave a flank open if you were surrounding a bear, because you have to enable her to go in if she has to and prepare the bear for what was about to happen to it. And there's a very common cited story that there are hunters surrounding a bear, and then suddenly this lady that they don't know appear, and she has a bowl of blood with her that she gives to the bear. And the bear sees this and it realizes what's about to happen. So it starts to cry, and she would comfort it and be like, and actually tell him that, don't worry, this is all over soon. In both Finnish and Sami tradition, the bear is considered holy and very, very special. And therefore the hunt of a bear would be surrounded with a lot of very complex rituals. And I'm going to touch upon a few of these here. Note that these rituals are not really carried out anymore. I'm coming from this from a totally historical point of view, and these rituals is nothing that you would see today. The bear, as I mentioned, is considered holy in Sami traditional culture, and it still holds a very special status as a special animal and a sacred animal, and therefore it should always be treated with respect. And whenever a bear hunt was successful, it would be celebrated with grandeur. And these Sami bear rituals, they are very complex, and they are part of a complex belief system with a lot of symbolism, and that could be talked about for forever, basically, but by people who are better educated on the topic than I am. So I'm just going to touch upon it here. In Sami culture, a successful bear hunt would be celebrated with a lot of grandeur, big party, and a lot of tradition and rules of who could do what during this feast of the bear, basically. But it would end with that the bear had to have a proper burial, so all the bones had to be collected. They could not be damaged in any way. If a dog, for example, tried to steal a bone from the bear, the dog might be put down, actually, because that was a major sin to do that to the bear. And the bear would be buried with the same respect that you would treat a dead person. And also all of its bones would be very neatly placed in the grave in the same order as they were attached to the bear. So you would put the full skeleton in there in a particular order and cover it very, very neatly. And this is connected to a very old story about how the bear wants to be treated. And the idea is that while doing this, the bear will return to the place it came from originally, and there it will tell and talk about how well it was treated by the humans, and therefore other bears will appear in the area for those humans. The bear is sacred also in Finnish tradition, and it would also, a successful bear hunt there would also be celebrated with a really, really large feast and a lot of rituals. Like any tradition, it has varied over time and place, but it could feature elements such as a bride and a groom being chosen for the bear, and they would be sitting at one end of the table, and the bear's head, cooked head, would be sitting at the other part of the table. And the feast of the bear would also include a lot of prayers and rhymes and songs that would be specifically aimed at the bear. And after the feast, the bear's skull would be taken, like in a procession, out into the forest, and there you would have a pine tree, which would be the bear skull tree, where the skull of the dead bears would be attached. And that was very important, because that would ensure that other bears would appear in the area as well. These trees would also be considered sacred. You can't take down these trees, really. And after a while, these trees might be filled with bear skulls, and this has led later scholars to go to the conclusion that this is a fun thing. This is like a trophy tree to show off to your neighbors how good a hunter you were. But it can't be looked at it like in that way, because it has to be seen as the final stage of a very long series of traditions and rituals associated with the bear. And it might sound macabre to today, but it's still in Scandinavia very common to have like a moose head on the wall when you go into the home of a good hunter. And this was a way of showing respect to the bear, nothing else. There's no materialistic logic, it's just the tradition. And by the way, this bear feast and skull in tree thing was in no ways contained in only Finland, because Finland and Sweden used to be the same country, and there was a lot of migration going back and forth between those two. And this is not talked about a lot, but there was areas in Western Sweden that were fully Finnish speaking, actually, because so many Finnish families had settled there, and they would be Finnish speaking for centuries. And they would totally bring all of their traditions with them, and they would do the skull trees themselves. And this is true. But this is my only claim to fame. But one of my ancestors is actually named by name in this very fine publication, because of the sheer number of bear skulls that he put in a tree in Western Sweden, because he was a good bear hunter. He's the only one in my family who made it. He's like my claim to fame, the only one who made it. He's in a book. Absolute legend. Sadly, that tree was taken down. And the guy who took down the tree, he was almost evicted from his house because he took down the tree. So yeah, people were like scared of that tree for centuries, because they said like his curse was sitting there or something. But all of these very fancy traditions aside, let us finish this video with my favorite of all of the Nordic tributes to the bear, which is the bear's dance from Dalarna. Take it away, boys! If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me. A bit of a shorter video today. Hopefully I can make a longer project next time. I had really fun doing this because of that ancestor I had who likes his skull trees. I think this is a really fun topic. If you want to, please leave a like or a subscription or something if you like this channel. Please take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you soon again. Bye!